So as you know guys, we received a buff on the SU-30SM during the dev server, right? But although it does produce a lot of power, a lot more power than what it was before, let's actually test it out, the main differences between the old and new model in the terms of acceleration and time to speed. Because of course, you can have a lot of thrust, but what does it actually means for inside the game? So I tested the aircraft and I came with some numbers, okay? So the first idea here was time to accelerate. How much time did it take to get to certain speeds? Or basically, what are those speeds that you can get depending on certain situations? So what I did here is basically fly it out in a normal situation like this. From 600, I started counting because, of course, from that speed, more or less, we start to have the actual buff. Below that, the power output is pretty much the same, okay? And the results that I came is that overall, guys, you will see a very, very small actual change, okay? Although it does produce a lot more thrust, at the end of the day, the acceleration, I mean, for example, at 10 seconds after 600 kilometers per hour, the difference was around more or less like 17 kilometers per hour more. At 20 seconds, it was pretty much, you know, the same almost. I mean, it was like, again, like 27 kilometers per hour more. At the 30-second mark, it was around 26, 25, kilometers per hour more. At the 40-second mark, it was 34 kilometers per hour more. And at 50 seconds, the biggest margin over here, it was around 39 more or less kilometers per hour more. So at the same time, you are always at 20 kilometers per hour more to 30. It doesn't change much. Of course, it will help you, but it's nothing that breaks the game. Even if you compare the acceleration, it was around 0.5 meters per second more each second only, right? So instead of accelerating at 600 kilometers per hour, 9.14 meters per second, right? It was accelerating 9.6 meters per second, right? So, and even if you go faster, the difference, decreases. Like, for example, at 1,400, 500 kilometers per hour, it is accelerating, or the older model was 0.98 meters per second, and now it is 1.1 meters per second. So around 0.1, like, it's very, 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 very small changes, okay? So although, yes, the SU-30, as you see over here, it is climbing better, it is maintaining more speed. If you actually take a look on the numbers, it's not that big of a difference, okay? The bigger difference actually will be when we have something like the SM2. That's the major change, okay? But it does help. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, I'm trying to quantify what is the changes that we had. Because it doesn't matter how much thrust you have to actually properly look into the numbers to see if there are any differences, okay? And these were the numbers that I could find with the dev server with the new fly model. So indeed, it is an increase. But if even, I mean, let's take a look on StatShark, for example. At the end of the day, if you compare to other vehicles that are the top dogs, 14.3s in the game, you will notice that obviously the Eurofighter, for example, and the Rafale are much better getting to speed and in consequence of that, altitude to get a BVR shot, right? And even in the turn performance, although the SU-30 can do well, it is not as good as the Rafale as the Eurofighter. So what I mean about this video, guys, is that, yeah, look at this. I mean, look at the difference. Although you can do some Cobras that are pretty significant here, but here's the turn, 34.4, 34.5 degrees per second. The Rafale can do 43, so it's a pretty significant change over here, right? So at the end of the day, guys, the objective of the video is to show that although, yes, we are receiving a pretty significant SU-30SM upgrade on its engines, remember that the Rafale also got a buff that severely increased the ability to turn and climb and everything, right? And the Eurofighter is still a near perfection aircraft sometimes in the flight performance. So yeah, the SU-30 is better, but it won't change anything on the turn, and even on the speed, it is a little bit better. It's more on par with the others, but it's just not as close as you might think, okay? So this is quantifying, so it's a small change. Yes, it is an increase, but it's a small change, okay? So see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye guys, see you.